In this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast, it is part 2 of Mock Draft 1.0, a fun exercise me and James Barlowe did where we went on Tankathon, we hit Sim, and we simulated the lottery. The Toronto Raptors won the number 1 pick, and I ended up selecting Cooper Flag for the Raptors. Stay tuned as we cover picks 15 through 30. And to me, this is where the real fun begins.
Or stress.
Big shout out to each and every person that has made the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Raphael Barlowe, along with my co-host, James Barlowe. We had fun the last episode. We had fun. We did the lottery. And, this draft is weird. There's like a bunch of teams that have multiple picks. And so we're not going in like every other order because there's some teams that we drafted for and we're going to be consistent. And so the Spurs, the Jazz, the Thunder, and the Nets all have multiple picks. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know that it is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. All you have to do is place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to get started. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. Make sure you click the bell so you can be notified every time we drop a podcast, because we are coming at you 5 days a week, and that's at the minimum. We had to break this mock draft 1.0 into 2 parts. If you're looking on YouTube, you see James is taking notes. He's doing his draft board in his little war room right now.
The room ain't little, man.
I mean, it ain't like the office.
Technically, this is my office.
My bad, man. In James's massive war room, where he's taking down notes. We're literally doing this on the fly. This is live. This is not rehearsed. This is a fun exercise. All right. So if you missed the first episode, which I advise you to check out, I'm just going to recap it. The first pick was the Toronto Raptors. They went with Cooper Flag. Dylan Harper went number 2 to the Detroit Pistons. I'm talking too fast. Number 3 was Ace Bailey to the Portland Trailblazers. Number 4, Nolan Traore to the Utah Jazz. Number 5, VJ Edgecombe went back to New York City, where he played high school ball at, and goes to the Brooklyn Nets. Number 6, James had this pick, and he added another French prospect to the nation's capital, and Noah Senge going to the Washington Wizards. I had Trey Johnson going to the Charlotte Hornets at number 7. Hamad Mousa, number 8 for the Chicago Bulls, their center of the future. And the San Antonio Spurs had picks number 9 and 10. I went with Igor Domine from BYU. And then the 10th pick, which was via the Atlanta Hawks, I went with another big jumbo guard in Dink Pate. At number 11, the Oklahoma City Thunder, one of a few more picks for the Thunder. James selected Rocco Zakarski. Is it Rocco or Rocco?
Rocco, like he from Atlanta. So.
Big Z. We're going with Big Z, playing for the Brisbane Bullets at number 11. At number 12, James is a little upset that I went with Drake Powell at number 12 for the Sacramento Kings, because that's who we had on board at number 13 for the LA Clippers. But he ended up selecting Ben Serif, the Israeli point guard who is getting busy in Germany right now. And at number 14, I had Khan Kneppel, a guy that is soaring up draft boards, even though a game hasn't been played. From everything that I've heard, he's been absolutely killing in practices. And to round out the rest of the first round, the Orlando Magic at number 15, the Utah Jazz via the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 16, the Indiana Pacers at number 17, the Atlanta Hawks via the Lakers at 18, the Memphis Grizzlies at 19, the Golden State Warriors at number 20, and then you have the Houston Rockets via the Suns at 21. At number 22 and 23, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder via the Miami Heat for 22, and via the 76ers at 23. At number 24 and 25, it is the Brooklyn Nets via the Bucks at 24, via the Knicks at 25. At number 26, it is the Dallas Mavericks. 27, the Utah Jazz from the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's got to be from the Rudy Gobert trade. At 28, it is the Brooklyn Nets again from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like the Nets, Thunder, and Jazz and Spurs are running this draft.
Basically, the Nets are on the clock.
The Nets are on the clock. It's a good draft to be on the clock.
Yes.
At 29, the Orlando Magic from the Denver Nuggets. I can't even think of where that trade is coming from. And at number 30, it is the Boston Celtics, and this is their pick. All right. That was a long introduction. All right, James. You are on the clock at number 15 for the Orlando Magic. Who do you have Orlando selecting at number 15?
Man, this is, first of all, Orlando. I'm trying to go through some rosters. Okay.
Man, best player available.
Listen.
But Orlando, you need fit. I think
you do need fit. And I think I'm going to go with a big here. Just, confirming with my sources to make sure that, we're good to go. But I mentioned him before, Ralph. I think you should have taken him at 14 with the Pelicans. Yeah, I think we're going to go here because they got to pay Wendell Carter in 2025. They got to pay Moritz Wagner in 2025. So I think there's a center gap. I think Magic fans don't come for me, but we're going Derik Queen here at the 5 here.
I knew Derik Queen. I knew you were going to go with him high. You are the leader of the Derik Queen fan club right now. And what do you like so much about D Queen?
What is there not to like? Look, passing ability, post offense. I think he has all the talent in the world on the offensive end. Maybe people are turned off about him being a little bit older. Maybe they don't know how the defense is going to check out. But I really like Derik Queen. I was thinking about going elsewhere here, but I'm like, you know what, James? Be who you are, brother. So I went with Derik Queen, man.
All right, that's fair. You are back on the clock again because the Utah Jazz had the 4th pick. You went with Nolan Traore. So we're going to be consistent here. Who do you have the Jazz taking at number 16?
All right, so at 16, we are going with Laim McNeeley. He's from Richardson, Texas, Dallas suburb. He's from there. Don't let that Florida stuff fool you. Laim McNeeley.
All right.
6'9" shooter.
I think he's a shooter, but I think he's more than a shooter.
I think if he is more than a shooter, that is great, but I know he can shoot. So I'm buying him catching and shooting the ball. Again, I drafted Traore earlier. We still got Keontae. Who knows what we got with Cody Williams. So at 6'9", he can shoot. Why not?
All right. I am on the clock at number 17. And with the 17th pick, the Pacers have a lot of talent. They can score. I'm going to go with a guy that some people think is a lottery pick, but I don't have him in my lottery. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for him to get the minutes to play as a lottery pick, but I'm going back across the pond. I'm going with Hugo Gonzalez, one of the better defensive wings. I mean, he averaged I want to say if you combine his blocks and steals, it was like a little bit under 5 stocks per game. He's in a situation with the Pacers where they need, in my opinion, another wing that's just going to come out there that's going to run the floor and defend. I think he's going to defend. He's going to play hard. He's competitive. I see you shaking your head. And the Pacers don't need any more offense. Whatever he brings to them on the offensive end could be a bonus, but I think Hugo Gonzalez is going to be like that scrappy defender that you can throw out there on another team's second best player. He's just going to go out there and compete and play hard. So I'm going Hugo Gonzalez at number 17.
All right. All right, I guess so.
All right. You're on the clock at number 18 with the Atlanta Hawks. Where you going?
I need more time, man. Let's take a break.
James must have had Hugo Gonzalez on his board, and
I didn't have him near my board.
Time. So James wasn't prepared. He needed more time. Luckily, this is not the real life because once that
This
shot
is when
clock.
they show the commercial break. This is when Taco Bell doing their thing, man, and you'll see my draft scrolling on the bottom of the ticket.
Once that shot clock goes off in real life and the real draft, you don't get time. But let's talk about Game Time. Game Time is my favorite app when it comes to purchasing tickets. And I mentioned in the last episode, I was on the Game Time app yesterday because Paw Patrol Live is coming to Dallas. And I plan on taking my 2-year-old son to Paw Patrol Live because he absolutely loves Paw Patrol. But that's the thing about Game Time that I like. It's not just sporting events. It's concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And they have the all-in pricing. All you have to do is toggle the feature on the app. It will show you the total upfront, so you don't get a surprise fee at checkout, and you get a panoramic view of the seat in the app before you buy. Game Time also has the lowest price guarantee. If not, they'll credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today because what time is it? Game time. All right, once again, thank you for making the Locked On NBA Big Board podcast your first listen of the day. Now, for your second listen of the day, you got to check out the Locked On Fantasy podcast. Why? Because Josh Lloyd is an absolute legend. Go to YouTube. You see he has hundreds of thousands of views. I mean, I guess it's in the millions if you count it up, but he is the Locked On Fantasy basketball, or just the Locked On Fantasy, or he is fantasy basketball guru. That's all I'm trying to say. If you want to win your league, check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. All right, James, you had enough time.
Hey man, listen here. I'm ready. The Hawks, we're gonna take Zvonimir Ivisc at number 18. I just needed a little time. I had to confirm with ownership, you know what I'm saying? I need to see if he could swag surf when it's time to do all that in Atlanta. So we'll go with Ivisc here.
So what do you like about Ivisc for Atlanta?
Yeah, man, he does a lot of things. I think he can be a passing five. I think you can unlock some dribble handoff action with him and Trae Young eventually. I think Yeka is the center of the present. I think Clint Capella is getting a little older. So I think you need some help at the 5 position. Ivisc looks like he can stretch the floor. We know he can pass, pick and roll big. I think he's a good option for him. I think the Hawks are – it looks like they have to ride out with Trae Young. So, I mean, they don't have any picks, at least not any lottery picks. I don't think so.
All right. I am on the clock with the Memphis Grizzlies at number 19. And if I'm Memphis, I already got Ja Morant. I mean, my core is good. Now I'm just looking for the complementary pieces. I think they need one more shooter, but I also think they need a big. But I'm going to go with who I think is probably the best player available right now. And I'm going to go with Boogie Fland.
Mo Jr. Okay, I like that pick, Rob.
Fland with pick 19 for the Memphis Grizzlies. All right, James, you're on the clock at number 20 for the Golden State Warriors. You got a tough one here. Like, do you go young?
Yes.
Do you go someone that is ready to play right away? Because it looks like they're going to ride that Draymond and Steph till the wheels fall off. Do you go to wing? I mean, like, it's on you.
So, yeah, they're in a tough spot. I think a jump from Kuminga is you need it. Absolutely, you need it. So, I'm going to go with Hamad Mousa to the Warriors right here. Versatility, can play on the ball, can play off the ball. And if that timeline is messed up, that gives him some time to put on some weight. And about 2-3 years, you got a really good wing player right there.
I'm on the clock with the Houston Rockets, another team where I don't know if there's just like a lot of immediate playing time if you get selected by the Rockets. But I'm going to go with the best player available. I'm going to go. I think they're going to have to move one of their guards. I think Fred VanVleet is. I mean, I guess do they have a backup point guard in waiting?
Reed is the backup point guard.
You think Reed is a point guard?
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure.
You think Reed is a point guard?
In that summer league. It's just summer league, but yeah, he can run a team for sure.
I'm gonna go with the best player available, a guy that had a phenomenal junior year, and I probably would have went out and entered the draft if I were him. But I'm gonna go with Hunter Sallis for the Houston Rockets. Gives them another athlete, a guy that can score. And he was efficient at scoring. He can shoot. And so I'm going to go with Hunter Sallis at number 21 for the Houston Rockets. All right, James, you're on the clock back to back for the OKC Thunder.
For the Thunder, man.
Where are you going?
All right, we just going to knock this out.
I was going to say you drafting for the OKC Blue.
Basically, yeah. All right, so 22 or 23, I really don't care which direction you go. No, I'm going to be on brand. 22. We're gonna go with Garway Dual.
Okay.
Yes.
Why? What do you like about Garway?
He's a jump shot away from being a lottery pick, but he was such a non-shooter his 1 year at
Providence.
I wanted to say Seton Hall. Providence. He was such a non-shooter and his minutes were kind of fluctuating, but he can play. He created his own shot. He's going to be a very, very good defender. OKC loves their long defenders. I heard they got a defensive group chat. I don't know how that works. I like Garway Dual. That gives him some time to develop. If you say we don't want to pay Lou, well, they just pay Lou Dort. I mean, who knows what the Thunder are going to do? But he seems like a Thunder type of player. How about that? 23. Again, he does not seem like a Thunder type of player, but they got time. I'm going to go with, hey, listen to me. Ain't nothing changed but the year, Rob. It's still Hansen Yang season. I'm going with Yang at 23. They can stash him. And when it's time to come over, the post work will be there. If he doesn't come over because you don't think he's an NBA player, I mean, if there's ever a team with picks to burn, it's the Thunder. So I'm going to go with Hansen Yang. It's still Hansen Yang season, Rob.
So you went with Yang and Big Z.
Yeah. Why not?
I mean, I guess no matter what direction you go in, there's going to be
you have overlap at every position possible.
Redundancy. For those that don't know about Hansen Yang, man, just go ahead and tell them your thoughts on Hansen Yang.
Hansen Yang got a lot of offensive game. I guess it was a mixed bag from his summer league. He did it. They played against Charlotte. I think it was Drew Pemberton. No disrespect if it was Drew Pemberton, but he was giving the center for the Hornets work on the block, but he wasn't really always featured. You saw flashes. The defense does need to improve. He does turn the ball over a lot, but he's only 18, 19 years old. Ton of offensive talent, back to the basket talent. I'm still a fan.
Okay. All right. I am selecting for the Brooklyn Nets at 24 and number 25. I think this is pretty easy for me just because the cupboard is bare. I'm going with Karter Knox at 24.
Okay.
I'm going with Karter Knox at 24. I think that, hey, man, ever since I saw him live at playing for OTE All-Star Weekend, I was a fan. The game looked easy to him. I'm going with Karter Knox. And then at number 25, I'm going with Jarin Stevenson. Alabama. Jarin Stevenson, near 7-footer, has some wing skills, can shoot a little bit. I don't know about the role that he's going to play for Alabama this year. He could be playing out of position at the 3 because they have such a crowded front court, but he's super talented, played all last season. I think he was 17 years old the entire season, and he contributed on a team that went to did they go to the Elite 8 or Final Four? Final Four? I know they had a deep
Final Four.
Yeah, he had the big game against Clemson. I think it was in the Elite 8.
They lost to Purdue in the Final Four.
So yeah, I'm going with Jarin Stevenson. So for my Nets picks, I got Jarin Stevenson, Karter Knox, and VJ Edgecombe. All right, let's take a break. When we return, we'll cover picks 26 through 30. It's a couple guys that are in our imaginary green room shaking in their boots because they're trying to figure out where they're going to end up. But before we get into pick 26, which happens to be for the Dallas Mavericks, let's talk about FanDuel. Because if you are an NFL fan or an NBA fan, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. And when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can view live play-by-play, so much more. And it's on the same page where you place your bets. You get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And all you have to do is place a $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. All right, James, back on the clock. Pick number 26, Dallas Mavericks.
Hey, listen to me.
That means you got it already cooked up and warmed up.
Listen, Darren Harris out of Duke.
Okay.
It's going to work. All right. You pair him next to Luka, you're going to have wide open shots. He has a burner. And he's unselfish. There's a little bit of playmaking ability, but let's hope that there's a Devin Booker prophecy over his head where he has more than what he's going to get to show at Duke. But he can fill it up and he can light it up really, really quick. Good size, about 6'5" shooting guard. Darren Harris out of Duke.
All right. Where do you see the minutes for him this season?
Well, next season, I mean, Klay Thompson is older.
I'm talking about for Duke.
Oh, for Duke, I don't know. But you know what? He may be such a good shooter, it doesn't really matter. He could get drafted if he averages 8, to be honest with you.
But where do you see, and I mean, I'm not saying I don't think he's going to get the minutes, but I'm just trying to figure out, you know that, Proctor's going to play, unless you feel like Caleb Foster may not play. He started last year. You got Concanepple. You got Cooper Flagg. You got Zion James. You got I can't think of his name right now, man. The guy from Purdue.
From Syracuse too, right?
He's a big, but you got the guy from Mason Gillis from Purdue that shot like the lights out. And he's that would really be bad if he transferred. I think he's a grad transfer. He go from starting at Purdue to like playing behind freshmen.
Yeah, L checks, man.
Yeah. So that's my quick question for you. Then you got Isaiah Evans.
Look, man, we can do a podcast on why you shouldn't go to Duke right now. But I think Darren Harris is too good of a shooter to be glued to the bench. He's gonna have at least 4 or 5 games where he's lights out, and it's gonna be enough for scouts to be like, that's him, because his prep tape is really, really good.
Okay. You are on the clock again with the Utah Jazz. It's your third pick. You have Laim McNeeley and you have Nolan Traore. So who is your third pick for the Jazz?
We need some defense, right? We need some dog in Utah. I know that doesn't sound right all the time, but we need some dog. We're going to go with Rasheer Fleming right here for the Utah Jazz. I was going to go with another shooter, but I like Rasheer Fleming as a 4, 5, whatever position he wants to play. Tons of talent. He's young for his age. Block shots, rebounds. Rasheer Fleming right there.
All right. I am back on the clock with the Brooklyn Nets. And with the Nets, you just have the ability to just, hey, man, whoever fits, who's ever best. I don't know exactly what position he plays, but I know that he's a ball player. And another guy who may not have the cleanest path to the draft, but he's super talented. And I think that he's a guy that is probably going to look better as a rookie in the NBA than he did in his freshman year in college. But I'm going to go with Ian Jackson for the Nets at number 28.
I like that pick because at 28, and he can go get buckets. Like you said, he'll probably be a better NBA player than a college player. I like that pick, Ralph. You did a good job with that one.
Gracias. All right, you're on the clock with the Magic.
All right, so Last Magic pick, we went with Derik Queen. We went with a big. This time, we are going to go on brand with what they need with shooting. And we're going to go with Will Riley here out of Canada via the Illinois Illini, Fighting Illini.
Okay.
6'9", rail thin. He has a ratchet. And
you think he has a ratchet? I think he's more of a scorer than shooter.
If you need an instant offense kind of guy, and he's got that kind of size, and then you say, okay, maybe he can turn into more of a shooter than a scorer. I mean, you're playing with Paolo, you're playing with friends, you have plenty of opportunities to get open shots. I like Will Riley right there.
All right, I am last up for the Boston Celtics. Man, there's so many guys that.
Who do you even need if you're the Celtics?
Well, if I'm the Celtics, who I need is somebody that can play a complementary role. And as you can imagine, that it's about to get expensive. It already has gotten expensive.
It already is expensive.
On one hand, you may need some front court help. But I think you could find that, maybe free agency or whatever. But I do think that they need to address Horford, even though I listened to Josh Smith on the Knuckleheads podcast, he said he thinks Horford has like 5 more years left. And Horford seems like he's just stalled, right? Like he hasn't gotten worse. He's just been even for the last 5 years, even though I guess people kind of thought he was washed when he was in Philly. But maybe
they played him at the 4 in Philly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can say he's playing. Anyway, maybe that year with the Thunder where he just didn't play kind of helped him. It added a year. I mean, he got paid to do nothing. Then it kind of added a year to his body. But if I'm the Celtics, I am going to go with another wing. I'm going to go with a young wing that his game is perfectly suited in a complementary role to provide depth off the bench. I'm going with Malique Lewis, 19 years old. 6'9" or 6'10". No, I think he's 6'9", but he played last season for the Mexico City Capitanes. Kind of came out of nowhere. He is a guy that, just came out of nowhere last year in the G League, shot 50% from the floor, 37% from 3, can defend. He is your 3-and-D cut guy, transition finisher, off the ball cutter. So I'm going with Malique Lewis if I'm the Boston Celtics.
I like that pick. That works out. That works out for him. You'd like to think that they could get a Drew Holiday clone at some point in the future. Good luck finding one of those. But I like that pick, Rob. You did all right, man, the last couple picks, man. I'm proud of you. You learned it from me, man.
So there's some snubs. There's some guys that people are going to be hitting us up. Colin Murray Boyles is the biggest snub so far. That he's a first rounder on pretty much every mock I've seen. He didn't get drafted in this situation. Cedric Coward from Washington State is the guy that I like as your 3-and-D wing. JT Toppin is a guy that I think could be a first round pick. Any other omissions for you?
Alex Tui is hoping right now.
Alex Tui is he's definitely playing well. He got off to a hot start last year, and then he finished the season at like 24% from 3. So we'll see if he can maintain.
He's hooping, and there's somebody else playing. But yeah, he looks good right now.
Alex Caravan didn't make it.
Jalil
Bethea, Asa Newell, Donnie Freeman, Darian Reed, Kwame Evans Jr., who Richard is a big fan of. But hey, man, I know that I just can't unsee how passive he was last year in the game where he had like 0 points or took like 2 shots or something like that in like 30 plus minutes.
Yeah.
But he can make a more jump.
Avdalis.
I like Avdalis. I just think that, man, like his minutes have fluctuated.
See, but you can't draft Hugo Gonzalez and then leave off Avdalis if it's a minutes thing. Because Hugo Gonzalez not going to crack that rotation, right?
But Hugo played better this summer at the U18s. He's been more consistent throughout his career on the youth levels. Avdalis, I mean, we're talking about a guy that like set the record, if I'm not mistaken, for the youngest player to score in a EuroLeague game at 15. Then he I feel like his development kind of stalled. And I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's just the Greek basketball system because it's so much pressure to win now. Every game, the coach is on the hot seat, like every single game, every single loss is like, I might get fired. It's so, he had a good game against Aris a couple days ago, 17 points, but I think he had like 5 turnovers. I like him. I think he can definitely be in that first round range, but we'll see if he continues to have the green light. But I will say this, and I have mentioned it like publicly on my Twitter page. I don't think there is a big difference talent-wise between Abdalis and Ben Seraph. And then FIBA listed Abdalis at 6'9". I don't know how true that is, but they had him listed at 6'9".
And those centimeters be tricky, man. That they
no, they got him like they don't have it, and they have him at 6'9".
Oh, in feet and inches?
Yes, 6'9" on the FIBA site from the U18 Eurobasket. Now, if that is accurate, I mean, he has the widest range. I've seen 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 6'9". If he's 6'9" with those guard skills, and he just shows me a little bit more, I think he can creep up in the lottery. It's early, man. It's way too early. Overseas players,
they have an advantage and a disadvantage
because they've played and haven't played. Then so some of these freshmen may fall out.
Kasparis, I can't pronounce his last name.
Jaksionius. The reason I like him is he going to play over Kylan Boswell, who is from Champaign.
And he's somehow like 19-year-old junior.
19, yeah, he was super young. So, they'll probably play together, but I think Kasparis is best when he has the ball in his hands, and I think the same with Boswell. But again, this is super early. This list is obviously going to change. And I probably can speak for you too, just going by how we feel right now. KJ Lewis, Isaiah Evans is on some lists. Michael Ruzic, who has, he's playing now. I've seen him on a lot of boards. He's at Juventud in Spain, but I think he scored like 5 points in 3 games total. And it's like a cap, but he's only 17 years old. So you're going to have to judge him not based off of his production this year, just I guess the flashes you've seen. And then he didn't have the advantage of playing for his national team this summer, but he's in that mix. Like I said, Isaiah Evans, don't know if he's going to play.
I like him. I like if he can figure it out. I like Mackenzie Mbako.
Yeah. He's got to figure it out.
He's got good size, and if he could just catch and shoot like that 6'9" with that frame, I think he gives like, depending on what fan base you ask, but I think he gives you like Taurean Prince vibes. Again, the jumper needs to catch up, but he's got really good size at 6'9", and he should be poised to have a pretty good year because he's the one that's coming back, him and Malik Renew.
Yep. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Locked On NBA Big Board Podcast. We gave you 2 episodes. This is Mock Draft 1.0, picks 15 through 30. All right, here is a recap from part 2. The Orlando Magic took Derik Queen at number 15, Laim McNeeley to the Utah Jazz at 16, Hugo Gonzalez to the Indiana Pacers at 17. James is shaking his head, rolling his eyes. At number 18, the Atlanta Hawks got Zvonimir Ivisc. I had Boogie Fland going number 19 to the Memphis Grizzlies. James went against the grain with Hamad Mousa at number 20.
Told you I am the grain.
Against the grain with Hamad Mousa for the Golden State Warriors. I had the Houston Rockets taking Hunter Sallis at number 21. At 22 and 23 for the Oklahoma City Thunder, James had Garway Dual. So James believed he's going to have a bounce back sophomore year. And then he went with Hansen Yang, the uber skilled big man out of China. At 24 and 25 for the Brooklyn Nets, I went with Karter Knox and Jarin Stevenson. James went with sharpshooter Darren Harris at number 26 for the Dallas Mavericks. At 27, I like to pick here. James went with Rasheer Fleming for the Utah Jazz. At number 28, I went with North Carolina combo guard, bucket getter, Ian Jackson. And then at number 29 For the Orlando Magic, you went with Will Riley from Illinois. And then at number 30, I went from, this guy has a unique journey. He is from, I can't think of where he's from.
Trinidad, Tobago.
From Trinidad and Tobago, went to Spain. From Spain, he went to Mexico City, and now he is in Australia. I'm going with the well-traveled 19-year-old Malique.
Downtown Switzerland, as Cameron said.
Hey, man, at least you know he's going to be very mature because he's had some life experiences. So I went with Malique Lewis at number 30 for the Boston Celtics. Well, that wraps up this episode. Once again, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Check out the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast next. It's on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Josh Lloyd, the expert, the legend himself, is going to help you win your fantasy basketball league. Once again, it's Raphael with James. We are out of here.